Okay, I just noticed that I went beyond my 15-minute limit. I just checked the video and I stopped at around like talking about how thinking is structuring the external world. I'm gonna go back to that. So, sorry, extroverted thinking. So, extroverted thinking is about structuring the external world, right? Um, so just like we know, okay, again, let's define it again. Extroverted thinking is okay. So thinking is about structuring structures, right? It's about structuring and structuring something in a logically consistent way, in an emotionally detached way, right? Um, and basically creating consistent harmony throughout this structure. And because, and like the thing that is, the thing that makes it logical is that it is not human based, it is outside humanity. And if it's the same exact thing but inside of humanity, it becomes feeling. And that's why FI can be sometimes confused with TI. It's because FI and FE are both also logical. They are rational. I mean, you see some degree of rationality and reason behind them. It's because they're not stupid, they're just focused on humanity. And so it's called feeling because there's emotions involved in humanity, you know? But it is logical. It's not illogical. Thinking and feeling are as logical as each other. It's the same thing, except that thinking is emotionally detached and so comes off as pure logic and reason and rationality. But feeling is just as logical, except that it's more attached to emotions, and so they call it emotional as opposed to logical. And so emotional and logical aren't exactly opposing each other, unless I'm confusing the word logical with unless I misunderstand the definition of logical. Maybe I don't check it out. Maybe I'm understanding the word logic in a different way. I don't check out the actual definition of the word, but you know, logical meaning that it makes sense. Anyway, back to what I was talking about in the post 15-minute video. I was talking about how extroverted thinking is focused on structuring the external world, like the buildings, you know, the streets, the cars, the objects, your life situations, the things that you do, your time, you know, the time that you spend doing stuff, as opposed to your introverted thinking that's more focused on structuring your inner world, your inner mind, your understanding of the world and everything relating to life in general. So if you actually, based on this definition, that extroverted thinking is focused on structuring the external world, like buildings and shit, while introverted thinking is focused on structuring your inner understanding, your inner interpretation and concepts, and interpretations of the world around you. Excuse me. Based on that definition, INTPs, I'm not going to talk about the sensor thinkers, STs, because I don't understand and know exactly how sensation goes into your thinking and how they act together. I only know intuition going with thinking. Now, because based on that definition, INTPs have the purest, most consistent logical understanding of anything that they are interested in between all the types. Because that's what their two functions, TI and NE, do. The NE wants to explore and TI wants to understand things, and because it's introverted, wants to understand it deeply and goes into depth and fully, completely understanding it, inside and out, everything. And after it gets that understanding and plugs it into the inner bigger structure of the whole thing, it goes over that thing over and over and over again to make sure it's consistent and harmonious throughout the whole ginormous structure of understanding of things in his life or her life. That's TINA. And it's the same thing for TENI, except that it's pointed outwards. So it's the same thing applied to the world around you, the buildings around you, the stairs, the ramps, the car, everything. It's the physical things that you see, that you sense with your SE as an ENTJ. That's it, you know? And SI for INTPs makes them meticulous in detail throughout the structure. And that makes them have the most consistently logical structure of all types. And to be honest with you, personally, I'm very proud of that. I'm very in love with this part of my nature. I'm just so happy about it. I guess I'm only happy about it because I'm INTP. If I was not an INTP, I'd be happy about that other type I would be. It's the same thing. But yeah, I guess so. Anyway, just to be fair here, the way I just described TINE could be relating to Enneagram Type 5, because I am Enneagram Type 5 Wing 6. Is possible, not sure, but it's kind of like what I said was correct, but the Enneagram type only emphasizes that aspect of it. That's what I think. I don't really know. Anyway, so if you take a look at your understanding or your idea or the general idea of what an ENTJ is this the guy very confident, very ruthless in their actions and their words, very confident, right? They do things, they get shit done, they're successful, they get tasks done, they climb up the ranks of a corporation, they're successful again. They do what they want, they structure the world around them, they get their life going, you know, that kind of an image of an ENTJ. That's because they're TE. The TE wants to structure things, and their SE wants to make sure everything's structured consistently and is meticulous in all the details all over the fucking structure. And their NI wants to make change. Their NI wants to see, what can I do to be better? What can I do to make the structure outside of me better? And yeah, whatever. And so they're extremely well built for that sort of thing. They're extremely well built to make the external structures and systems better. They are designed by God himself to do that. Okay, it's like this function stack is so perfectly consistent with itself to make the world around them better. And that's the lovely part about INTPs also, is that it's the exact same identical thing but pointed inwards. It is identical. I keep seeing the correlations and consistencies between the two types but in opposing directions. So I keep seeing how ENTJs deal with the world around them, and I imagine it inverted inside, and I see that's INTP. That is INTP. And I see the same thing, but for me, if I invert that shit on the outside, I get ENTJ. It's exactly like what an ENTJ is, stereotypically. Yeah, basically. So like, yeah, so the INTP is just as ruthless towards themselves and their inner mind, their inner world, as the ENTJ is to the outside. And the ENTJ is just as not so ruthless, is just as slow, as easygoing with their inside as the INTP is for the outside. The INTP doesn't really, I mean, like, I'm just talking about the model, the model of the INTP, not the real individuals. Every person, every INTP is going to be slightly different from this, and every ENTJ is going to be slightly different from this in different ways. Every person is unique. I'm just talking about the model of the ENTJ and of the model INTP. So the INTP, what the hell was I talking about? I completely forgot. What was I talking about? INTP, but what? I forgot. I completely forgot. INTPs. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, right. So the INTP is ruthless towards themselves, towards figuring them. Towards themselves basically. I don't feel like getting into details over here. I've been talking for 25 minutes. Anyway, so I need to study. I got midterms. Anyway, back to the fucking topic. Okay, class is gonna start soon. Anyway, back to the fucking topic. I don't have time to study. Anyway, back to the topic. Just as everybody sees how the ENTJ is just gets shit done, is ruthless about their time management, is ruthless about what they want to do. They see that thing being inconsistent and they don't focus on anything other than that, and they don't stop until they're comfortable with that thing being done. And it's like you can't ever ignore an ENTJ unless they're hiding or they're not that kind of an ENTJ. You just can't ignore them. They are in your face. They rule the physical space around them. They are present, and they don't think about, I mean, they don't hesitate if they want to get something done around them. They just fucking do it ruthlessly, aggressively, and they're very forceful. And I think that I personally admire, I personally admire the living hell out of that. And I think and I think a lot of ENTJs would admire INTPs also, if they take the time and if they have the patience to take a look into that and see what the INTP is. And the INTP is the same towards their inner world. So the INTP is ridiculously forceful, is ridiculously ruthless in understanding. And like there's no question the INTP cannot crack unless they die. I mean the ENTJ is bounded by the physical world. There's a limit. There's a physical limit to how much the ENTJ can do. But towards your inner world, there's no limit. The limit is your imagination. It's the laws of mathematics, you know. And so, if you take a look at an INTP such as Einstein, he cracked questions that no one in the history of mankind could. It's because he's an INTP, and it made him meticulous in figuring it out, and there was this massive void in his understanding, and that is unacceptable. And because he's not bounded by time or the physical world around him, he cracked that shit until he figured it out, and he put it on paper and published it for everyone to understand because he wanted to. The INTP can be ridiculously ruthless on their inside world, you know. And yeah, just as like how the ENTJ, I mean, a lot of people view ENTJs as gods, like there's nothing they can't do. I'm sure to them they know of their limits, and they see what they can and cannot do. I'm sure they know that they have a limit somewhere, right? But to us, the outsiders, we see them as gods. We don't see how we can ask them a question or to take care of something that they cannot do. And if they happen to fail, they get it again done next time, for sure. And it's the same thing for INTPs on the inside. I kind of see myself as there's no question I can't answer, and if I can't answer it now, I'll try until I can, and I will be able to answer it. Even if the answer is that there's no answer, I'll find that answer and I'll be sure about it, and I will prove it to you with pure logic and reason that you cannot disagree with, because it's not even up to you. It's mathematically proven or provable. I feel that way towards myself as an INTP. I feel like there's nothing I can't do. There's no question I can't answer. There's no belief system I can't break down. There's nothing. I can always do everything. And it's the same thing again for ENTJ. So I went on this whole massive rant about ENTJ and INTP, but I meant to talk about one thing specific in this video. Actually, these two videos. Crap, no time. I'll talk about it in the third video. I hope you enjoyed these 3 videos, because this has been a long time coming.